TNA Wrestling is back following their biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory. A pay-per-view that, by the way, did not disappoint. Alex Shelley still your Impact World Champion after he defeated, shockingly in my opinion, he defeated Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, in the middle of that ring. Trinity still your Impact Knockouts World Champion after defeating Mickie James. Match of the night, show-stopping, show-stealing performance from both men. Will Ospreay, Mike Bailey, that's a match for the ages. That's one of the best matches I've seen in years as far as any wrestling company is concerned. But the headline coming out of Chicago, the headline coming out of Cicero Stadium was that TNA Wrestling is back. Or rather, much like Scott D'Amore said, is effing back. And TNA Wrestling hasn't been active. We haven't referred to Impact Wrestling as TNA since, I believe, late 2017. Since Anthem bought a majority stake in the company. Since Anthem went ahead and fully rebranded the company to Impact Wrestling, and we've pretty much gone almost 6 years up at this point. It's gonna be 6 years pretty much. Once we get to January for Hard to Kill, when it officially kicks off the brand new TNA Wrestling era. But again, it's been way too many rebrands for this company. Even the most hardcore of TNA fans, Impact Wrestling fans out there, can allude to that fact. They can admit to it. NWA TNA from 2002-2004, TNA Wrestling from 2004 to 2011, TNA Impact Wrestling from 2011 to 2016, 2017, and then it gets a lot fishier because then we had the whole purchase of Global Force Wrestling. We had an attempt at a merger between both companies, and then we had the deal fall through because apparently, I don't know, the Global Force Wrestling never fully bought Impact, never fully bought TNA Wrestling, or something happened during back then, so they couldn't merge, and we had to go back to TNA Wrestling, TNA Impact Wrestling, and then we get to the point of February of 2018, Scott D'Amore, Don Callis takes over for Anthem, and Anthem fully rebrands into Impact Wrestling right here, right now, and it's been 6 years, almost 6 years. It's going to be about 6 years in January of next year. So again, a lot of rebrands, and that just adds on to the very bad stigma that TNA Wrestling built for itself over its 2+ decades of history, of not having stability, of not having any continuity, of way too many backstage issues, way too many backstage drama, to the point that fans were turned off by the product just from all the drama and not by the actual product itself. So what did Scott D'Amore do? What did Don Callis and Ed Nordholm and Anthem do? They took this company, rebranded it as Impact Wrestling. They gave it stability. They took care of all the backstage bullshit, and they gave the fans a tremendous wrestling product, which to this day, I will continue to say this. If this product that we have been seeing over the past 6 years with Impact Wrestling was even a part of TNA Wrestling back in 2013, 2014, I firmly believe they would not have been kicked off of Spike TV. Vince Russo drama aside. With that said, TNA Wrestling is back. Nostalgia brought it back. Every time we saw former TNA superstars on AEW TV, on WWE TV, fans chanting TNA. Hell, fans wanted to chant TNA Wrestling, TNA, TNA, TNA on Impact Wrestling shows, but they properly couldn't because the company was no longer referred to as TNA Wrestling. So Ed Nordholm, Scott D'Amore, the entire corporation behind Impact Wrestling saw an opportunity. They saw a chance to rebrand back as TNA Wrestling and try to gain their fan base, which loves TNA, by the way. And so now we get TNA Wrestling back in Vegas, Nevada next year. So the question begs to be asked, is this a good move for this company? Because again, the stigma with TNA Wrestling, the double entendre, the connotation to those 3 letters, especially in North America, especially in the United States, is very non-PG. It's very non-PC. But the fact remains that Impact Wrestling was stable. It had stability, it had continuity over the past 6 years, but it wasn't growing. It wasn't growing. It was staying stagnant. The same fans watching Impact Wrestling pretty much watched week in, week out, and the fan base was not growing. The fan base was not returning. All those 2+ million people that watched TNA Impact way back in the early 2010s, they fell off the wagon and they haven't returned. So something had to be done. Something had to be done, and TNA Wrestling is making a comeback. So in my opinion, I don't see it as that bad as an idea. I don't. Especially considering that back in 2017, 2018, when they were rebranding as Impact Wrestling, there was no clear number 2 professional wrestling organization. It was Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. But no, there was no clear number 2, so they tried to take advantage of that, try to take advantage of the fact that WWE was miles ahead of both of those companies. So somebody had to take the number 2 spot, so they went for sponsors, they went for TV deals, they went to try to take that number 2 spot. Argument could be made, they never did. But in my opinion, I'll always be an Impact Wrestling fan over a Ring of Honor fan. That's just my personal opinion. Now, in today's wrestling landscape, well, there's a clear number 2, and that's AEW. AEW competes with WWE in that top market. So what does Impact do now? Impact Management decides, well, if we can't be number 2, if we can't compete with AEW in our current form, well, we'll just take back our fans. We'll just take back our flavor, our look, our old look, cross the line, everything TNA Wrestling. The fan base is still there. They just don't want to come through and watch Impact Wrestling anymore. So let's just take advantage of that and let's try to gain some of those fans back. So again, it's a good strategy. Let's see if it plays out. And as far as the return of the six-sided ring, Scott D'Amore already said absolutely not. The talent doesn't want to work in a six-sided ring. It's too hard. It's very hard on the body. And of course, the talent comes first because that is what you see on the screen. That is the product itself. That is the entertainment itself. And we do not want the wrestlers to get hurt. So the six-sided ring, in my opinion, maybe bring it back for Six Sides of Steel. Maybe bring it back for a special Destination X pay-per-view. Maybe bring it back for once a year. That's it. Make it a special occasion. And yes, the Ultimate X match does work better on a six-sided ring. But 4 sides is the traditional way to watch professional wrestling, and it's going to stay. It's going to be a mainstay. And as far as that is concerned, I'm excited about the return of TNA Wrestling. I am. Especially in this globalized market in pro wrestling. A lot more globalized today than back in 2010, 2011, when pretty much you had to focus on US, on North America, which is why TNA didn't really quite gain its full footing. Especially, again, we live in this super sensitive world nowadays, especially right here in North America. So if they're not growing in North America, globalize the market, go to the UK where TNA Wrestling was always big. And they're about to go back down there for the final time as Impact Wrestling, so go right ahead. Again, they have a lot of TNA originals back with the company, so again, right now, at least from the outside looking in, at least from the get-go, right now, it seems like the best foot forward, especially, like I said, 6 years as Impact Wrestling, and the company remains stable, but stagnant. It did not grow in viewership. It did not grow in terms of escalating the product, in terms of going to bigger arenas, growing the fan base, and rebranding back to TNA Wrestling is an attempt to try to actually grow the business, which again is the main purpose for the company, for the talent, for everything, for the TV product. It's a business. At the end of the day, it might be a good business decision to go back to TNA Wrestling. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, it's another 5+ years until we see the end results. Again, consistency plus time breeds results. That's as simple as that. Let's see what it brings. And they might have to rebrand Impact Plus to TNA Plus. We'll just have to wait and see. So with that said, what are your thoughts on the Bound for Glory pay-per-view? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? What are your thoughts on TNA Wrestling being back in today's wrestling business? TNA's back, baby. Cross the line? So with that said, tune in later on tonight to Impact on Access TV, Impact Wrestling, which, by the way, that show on Access TV is going to go back to just being Impact. It's not going to be Impact Wrestling. It's going to be TNA Impact once again, just like the old days. So with that said, tune in later on to that show. I'm Alexis Carrillo. This has been Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.